This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, and this is collectively, we record this. Does anybody have concerns about that?
All right.
Thumbs up.
You're good?
Thumbs up.
All right.
Good.
Stephanie, I think her line is muted. That, you see that, Carly?
Yep. Stephanie, if you want, at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to unlock your mic. And if you choose, you can also do that with your camera to start the video. Or if you prefer to listen, that's fine too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Can I just say I'm getting totally spoiled by having this every 2 weeks now? I may not want to go back to once a month when this is over.
But seriously, if this is something you all would do every couple weeks, this is great, like connections with everybody. It certainly, when we talk about not feeling alone, we don't have to wait every month because then you're kind of on your own for a month. Well, now we have it every 2 weeks, and if Rick could still give us his blessing and we can still have the room, this would be great because we love seeing everybody.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hi, Rick.
Rick's thumbs up.
Rick's okay with it.
Yeah,
Good.
perfect. So this is where we're at. We're living large in Michigan now. I think just going through one more time just to remind everybody, Dan and Jennifer, I have relapsing remitting MS, was diagnosed in 2000.
And mine is secondary progressive MS, and I was diagnosed in 1997.
And we live in Michigan, just north of Carly. So Carly, tell us about yourself.
Hi, Carly, also Metro Detroit area in Michigan, diagnosed with relapse remitting MS in 2012? Question mark? I really don't. Doing good overall on Okramiss.
Okay.
Nice. Throw it over to Gail. I'm just going around the round robin. Gail.
Hi, everyone. I first started having symptoms back in 2017, and I was diagnosed last year. So it took a couple of years to diagnose, and I'm primary progressive MS, and I just started Okramiss also. Had my first half dose last Friday. So
Wow.
I'm very thankful after some delays to finally be getting some treatment.
And where are you, Gail?
Oh, sorry, I'm in Houston. Actually,
Houston, yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
And then Stephanie, we'll come back to her. Michelle, talk to us.
Okay, I'm Michelle Toddy. I am lead admin for MS Pals. I run that group for Mary and Carolyn now. I was diagnosed in 2015 with advanced relapsing remitting, 30 years worth of damage. So technically I am secondary progressive. I haven't relapsed since, from what I can what's the word I'm looking for? What I can guess. I haven't had a relapse since I was like 22. So I'll turn 50 on the 7th. So that's a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday.
Yes, happy belated birthday.
No, on May 7th.
Oh, well, happy early birthday.
We won't see you in 2 weeks, so we got to say happy birthday to you now. So
Yeah.
happy birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold my phone with the camera stick. I tried to log on my computer, but it locked up on me. So I was like, oh well, let's do this.
Well, it's good to have you. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Where are you at, Michelle?
I'm about 15 minutes door to door from Epcot. Woo!
Oh, okay.
I live in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Wow.
Southwest of Orlando down city.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, the city is 30 minutes north of Disney.
Okay.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
And bringing it up to Kim. Where are you from, Kim?
I am from Des Moines, Iowa. I have relapsing remitting, diagnosed in 2012, which I guess a bunch of us, there's like 3 of us, 2012 must have been a stellar year for diagnosing people. And Okramiss. Yeah. So I was just looking at, Stephanie was saying that she was diagnosed in 2012 as well and is currently living in Okinawa. Am I thinking in Japan? Am I like reading this correctly here?
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Very cool.
Let me just say, I have to, Stephanie, it's fantastic that we're reaching to Japan. We've had people,
Yeah.
we've had people in our other groups from the Far East, and it's just always a thrill to me. We quite often get men from Australia into our prostate cancer groups, but I'm so pleased that you heard about us, and hopefully you'll resolve with your computer. One thing I can say to you that might possibly help, there's a little settings gear in the top, and you might want to make sure that that settings gear is correct. If you click on the settings gear, it'll give you options for your audio, and that may allow you to unlock your microphone. And the other thing is, I'm going to look, there may be a local telephone number that you can call in on from Japan. So I'm going to look, and if there is, I'll post it in there. But I think there's a local access number. So you won't be in on the computer, but you will be in with a local number. Okay, signing off again. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, Rick. Bye, Rick. So then here we are on the 28th day of May of 2020. Think
April.
back to, oh wow,
Yeah,
April. I'm working, like still working a month ahead of myself. But it's like to stop and think back to New Year's Day
Oh my
of
gosh.
2020. I mean, did you ever envision this would be our life 4 months later?
No. No.
I mean, how are y'all doing? I mean, we've talked about this. I mean, Kim, and the issues with our lockdown. I mean, we're locked down in Michigan through the 15th of May. Kim, y'all are like rogue there in Iowa, and they don't
We're
lock you.
number 1 for fastest growing cases. Woo! Sorry, guys.
So how
One
about?
race you really don't want to win.
I was
We want
gonna
to win.
say,
We're Americans. We want to be 1 in everything. Number 1 in everything.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's bad or good, right? It's just our
congrats.
first.
So then Gail down in Texas, and then Michelle in Florida. I mean, are you guys what sort of lockdown or not are you guys under?
I am sort of, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to expire on the 1st, but, you know, who knows? They're working on opening both the parks. I'm 15 minutes away from Universal as well. That's 15 minutes worth of Universal Studios. And yeah, the tourist district here is just, it's been hit so hard because everything in Orlando is tourist based.
Right.
So they're really, really, really trying to at least open the parks. And I mean, they're looking at restricting the number of guests, which is unthinkable. You know, I mean, when you go to the parks, you can imagine how crowded they are typically. So it might be kind of nice, but you know, as far as getting on rides and things like that, it won't be like. But they're also, you know how I don't know if y'all keep up with the parks, but Universal opened a water park. I guess maybe a year and a half ago now. and they have a virtual ride queue, and you wear it's like a smartwatch, and it tells you when your ride is ready. So all
Wow.
of the parks are, yeah, both Disney and Universal is opening up that same technology to a lot of their other rides. Probably the hardest, hardest hit ones, like the ones where the lines are really long, like the Harry Potter rides, and some of
Yeah.
the other. They have a lot of indoor rides, um, screen rides where you get in a car and maybe it doesn't really move or go anywhere, but it's like a 3D virtual type ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have a lot of those, so they're probably, and some of those stay really busy. So they're probably going to open it up to those. And then Disney, gosh, Disney has put in so many new things, like the Star Wars stuff at Hollywood Studios, and all of that. And so they're also looking at going to the virtual ride queue. And I just saw an article pop up on one of my uh, notifications or whatever, but I just saw something pop up about Orlando has dictated what the parks or how they're allowed to open. So I need to read that. I just saw it today while I was in infusion. So I'm in Tysabri, by the way. I'm a Tysabri person.
And you had an infusion today?
Yes. Mhm.
How often?
I get once a month.
Once a month.
Yep.
Wow.
How long have you been taking that medicine?
I've been on Tysabri since I was diagnosed October 16th, 2015.
Oh, so obviously you're tolerating it well.
Yes, very well.
That's,
It's my drug of choice.
Nice.
that's good.
And welcome to Mary. I see you now, Mary.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Mary.
Hi.
She
I
made
may
it.
not, I did, but I may not be able to stay for very long. I'm realizing, which is typical. Things are getting stretched just a little bit too, too far into, certain things that I've gotten myself into, but or things have just simply piled up on top of each other. But I just felt the urge to come in and say hi and see y'all. And I'm glad Michelle is here. She's a dear friend of mine, and we've been friends for quite some time. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun. I'll hang out for a while, but then I'll wave goodbye when I have to, beep
Hey,
out.
good to see you. And just looking, because we had asked as far as what was happening. I don't know if y'all can see the messaging and stuff from what Stephanie had said as far as like with COVID-19 and what they're doing in Japan. She just said it's like things are definitely a mess in Japan, technically a state of emergency, but most people still go to work because working from home is either not possible given the infrastructure or not part of the business culture here. Schools have been closed to students since the beginning of March. Teachers are still to go in every day. That's just crazy. Can you imagine being like a senior in
Wow.
high school this year?
Yeah.
Like,
Schools
I
have
was
been closed here since right around spring break. I think maybe right in the middle of spring break.
Yeah,
They
I
closed
think
them
that's
down.
about right. My stepmother is a dean of a private school in San Diego, and my one of my best friends teaches kindergarten through fifth grade science, and so yeah, the whole virtual school thing is it's really been interesting. I'll just interesting, I guess, is the best word, and kind of disruptive and just weird, But like you said, Dan, imagine being a senior. And of course, they all missed prom, and then graduation is going to be a different story. Is it going to be a graduation on Zoom? So it's going to be very different.
Yeah.
Does anyone watch Good News? John Krasinski.
I just
Did you
saved it. I haven't seen it yet, but I just saved it on my subscription list. So yes, I've heard
Yeah.
Kathy Chester has recommended it.
Yeah, the last episode he actually did a virtual prom and had like a bunch of celebrities come on and sing, and it was I love when he comes out with a new episode.
That's what we need right now, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Now, Gail, whereabouts in Texas did you were in
Houston.
Houston?
Houston.
And Mary, you're in Dallas?
Oh yeah, hey, howdy, fellow Texan. Yeah, I'm in Dallas, and yeah, I guess both the Houston and Dallas city officials have been. I don't know. There's a lot of hoopla going on between, the decisions of the governor versus the mayors versus the, yeah. I'm sure, Gail, you've seen a lot of that happening too. But yeah, it's things are supposed to start opening up, limited, I think 25% occupancy starting on Friday. I think that's the same in Houston. Well, yeah, it's Texas, so yeah. How do you feel about that, Gail?
To be in leadership has to be a very difficult job right now. Not that it's ever easy, but just to balance safety concerns, health concerns with the economy and getting people back to work. It's a tightrope that they're
Yeah.
on, trying to balance all that. So I think slowly opening things sounds wise, just from an economic standpoint. But for me personally, I'm not anxious to get out yet. So I'm happy being at home, especially since I've just had treatments. I really am concerned about getting out, and so I'm going to stick close to home. But the city ordinance for Houston has been, that if you go out, you need to wear a mask.
Right.
Which,
Same here.
Gail, did you just have your Okramiss?
Yes, just last Friday.
And was this the first half or the first full?
The first half.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I just started. So
Yeah.
anyway, I did fine with the infusion, but the word is, and I guess y'all could all attest to that my immunity is going to go down. So
Yeah.
I have been hibernating at home, and I will continue doing that. I told my husband and my daughter, my college age daughter, that I guess they're my Instacart for now. So, but yeah, if I go out, which I did today because I have a mom in memory care and I do her laundry for her. So I take her laundry once a week and get her dirty laundry, and I just have my mask on, and that's, it's nice to get out, but I'm not going to go to public places like grocery stores or Walmart for a while. So,
Yeah, that's,
mm,
I understand that. I have a caregiver because Dan works during the day and I need help doing, just activities of daily living. And bless her heart, she offered that she would go to the grocery store for me. And as much as I appreciate that, I'm thinking you're going to wear a mask. And, I still am a little freaked out about germs and just, I don't know. We don't know how this is transmitted. And so I feel, and I don't know if I'm the only one, I feel like a little just constant concern, just,
mm,
so like a little heightened sense that, you know what I mean? Or am I
sure.
being overly paranoid?
No, I know. I think the perfect words are. I've been saying, like, when it first started, cautiously aware, and then when things really started to change, I think in New York is when I started really feeling just strange when I would get out and about, and which I rarely do. I mean, unless I really have to. And my mom's been dropping off stuff, at my front door and things like that. But once in a while, I do. But now I've tended to be more comfortable with my routine as far as I know where I'm going. I know exactly like what aisle or what direction I need to go, and I've got my comfort zone happening with how I need to do my mask and um so it's kind of like my anxiety was not really there in the beginning, but then it took a spike and now it's back down again, and it's kind of like I just waiting, day by day to see what happens. But I haven't really. I've been busier than I ever have been, and it's I don't know. I guess my worries are more for there's so many other people out there, and I don't know if that's the right attitude to take, but that's just kind of how I've been feeling, you know?
Everybody is, I mean, really, we're going through like collective grief
Yeah.
on our own at home, right? So everybody's going through their weird things. And I'm kind of with you, Mary. Like, I had really high anxiety leading up to my infusion. It spiked again after I was done with my infusion because I'm like, oh crap again, you know? And then it came back down and I'm kind of leveling off right now, but I feel like the same way. I'm like, well, today is good, but is tomorrow going to be different? But I think you kind of I think you were talking about your grocery shopping more so like having a routine. But I was saying before we started recording, that's actually I've found two things that help me every day. As long as I get up and take a shower and get out and move, like whether I take a walk or a run for the day, as long as I do those two things, I'm keeping my mental health in check. And that's like, if that's all I do today, I'm giving myself permission to like, that's it. And if I don't take a shower today, I did today, but but if I don't today,
I did.
that's okay too.
Well, see, that's great, and I've been keeping myself very, as Michelle knows, we talk. She's like, "Can we talk?" I'm like, "No, I'm in the midst of this, and no, now I've got this," and
I
it's
just
like,
wait for you to contact me now.
and I always do, and then of course we had Healthy Voices last weekend, which was phenomenal, but it was still, like just like this right here, doing the virtual thing, and so it's just been, but the thing is, Carly. And this has been one of my goals, and and I had just started into my routine as far as fitness and some training, and where I have a trainer that's coming to my house. Then everything got into the lockdown, and then my trainer got sick, and so I've paid for a few sessions up front. So I know that's going to pick back up again, and I know that these are things that I can do on my own. But am I doing them? I'm being honest, no. And I'm sitting. I'm on my bed right now, and I've got my computer in front of me, and that's not a good thing, but I am keeping myself occupied, and I'm staying away from the news. I mean, I keep myself abreast of what's going on, but the news is so crazy and it changes so much, and then it gets very loud. It gets loud and noisy. Same thing with social media. This,
I
this type of thing.
noticed a lot of people this week kind of taking a break from social media.
Yeah.
I took more of a break like last week. I just couldn't be on and I kind of re-engaged this week. But I don't know if anybody else has been noticing that too. I for the first couple of weeks had to have the TV on just to hear what was
Yeah.
going on. And then like, what am I doing? Like I'm
Me
just
too.
making myself more anxious. But it was like, am I more anxious with it on or off? Or I don't know. I feel like I have to know. And now it's like, okay, things really suck right now and I can't listen to any more. I just
Yeah.
have to worry about me right now. And it felt very selfish, but at the same time I was like, I can't hear all of the other noise right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
When Dan hurt his back, it was about 2 weeks ago. It was the day before Easter. And so my mom and my brother came up to our house to help transfer me and, help take care of us, just to do things. We are differently aligned politically. And so we had a no television rule just so we didn't have anything.
That's got to be a lot of fun.
And so
I'm laughing.
And so for like 2 weeks, we didn't watch any sort of television. And then my family left Sunday, and I have been nothing but like glued to social media. And I'm like, okay, tomorrow I just got to stop.
It's hard.
It's crazy.
And I've just, and I'll go to, I was going to Twitter and everything, and it's just like that. Nothing will make me more angry, and you just keep watching and looking and stuff. And so I told Jennifer I need to do some more social media distancing and stuff just to get away from the ugliness, because and it's just like Carl, like you say, you want to be abreast of things, but I don't need to have that constant it's sort of like, and just drawing comparisons, but like, with when I was a kid and it was like the Iraq War, so you had that. And when it first started, you had to watch to get in the know. 9/11 happens, for the first month afterwards, you're watching, but then it's just like, what's there. And I think, there's a lot of this where we just kind of get caught up with things, where things are. Nothing that astronomical is going to change from day to day.
Yeah.
And we watch the news every night, and it's just like, we're going to get a report. How many are in New York? How many more states are on lockdown? And you're just like, I don't want to say predictable because it's unpredictable, but at the same time, I don't want to say the newness is worn off, but I think you just get more comfortable with what can you get comfortable with, like where we are
It's kind of like
in this
today's
fight?
normal.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
It's,
I think you can get
lot of
very
it's like,
comfortable with where you are.
yeah.
I just subscribe to my local newspaper, and then I get notifications through my phone, so I'm always like up to date with what's going on then, and then I can just like look at the sentence like, do I want to read it? Nope, read it later or not read it at all. And
Yep.
that way, and I also have a little bit more comfort that the material I'm getting is accurate to some extent. And I know like my governor every day has a news conference at 10 a.m. I get a notification, hey, she's going live at this time. And then I hear a notification later about what she said. And it's just kind of nice to, then I text my friend going, this is how many cases and deaths are in Iowa today, which I was looking at Japan because I'm just so curious because I've been very sheltered. Italy was really big in China, and now like the world has fallen off and I don't hear anything about the world anymore. So since we have Stephanie that's living in Japan right now, they have had under 14,000 confirmed cases in Japan, 413 deaths. And the thing that just really just blows my mind is Tokyo, which is a huge city. I had to look up the population because I wasn't quite sure. I think it's like, now I lost it. I gotta look it up. But I think it's like 37 million in the whole, like the metro is like 3.8 or 8.7 and the whole is like 37, something ridiculous. They have had 100 deaths in Tokyo. Iowa has blown by that number. I'm just like, what is Japan doing?
Yeah.
Oh, Stephanie's saying lack of testing. Okay, that could be a problem there too. Thank you for bringing that up.
Lack of testing here.
Stephanie
Yeah,
from Japan, who's currently in Japan, is saying their lack of testing may be making the numbers less. But I'm just like,
Oh, yeah. That's
And
that's the key thing that really is. Excuse me for jumping in. That I think that right there is the big question mark, because there and also the virus itself is a big question mark. It's like, why are some people manifesting in this way? Why are some people manifesting it in another way? Why are some people having strokes? Why are some people not showing any symptoms? It's just bizarre. And like you said, lack of testing. I think that's probably in so many areas. I mean, there's a few, I haven't been tested. There's a few areas that have been set up, but I'd have to drive out to Arlington to do that, which is maybe, I mean, I could do it. It's 45 minutes away, but I just don't feel like I want to do that. I am curious about getting the antibody test when that comes available, but that's not going to do anything for, I mean, right now, all I'm going to do is what I'm doing, it's bizarre.
I find it ironic, Mary, that you're questioning, like, why is it presenting this way in some people and this way in some people? And I'm like, holy comparison to multiple sclerosis.
There you go.
It's just, I think that this is going to be, I don't know if I'm jaded because I've been living with MS for 23 years and they haven't done poop to fix my disease. And I'm like, why does everybody think we're going to find a vaccine for coronavirus? I'm like,
yeah,
and maybe Kim, because you're really smart when it comes to medical stuff, you might have an idea with how this is. But I don't want to be negative Jenny, but I'm just like,
who brought her to the party?
Negative Jenny and pooping.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, I want to have hope and I don't want to be depressing. But it's just very much living with multiple sclerosis. I'm like, they haven't done much for the disease. I mean, certainly they've done some things with the disease modifying therapies. And that it is, in the grand scheme of things, really, compared to 23 years ago, and there were only 3, there are so many more now, but I'm just like,
Right.
yeah.
But is it, I mean, just to where we think that, the testing and everything, or that they're going to find a cure, an antidote, something for this. But, because we talked just how many years have we been like raising money for the MS walks, for the MS
Right.
research, for all this other stuff. And, are we closer to finding a cure for something for MS? Certainly we're, closer than we were 20 years ago, but it's not fixed. And so the thought that we're just going to pump all this money into Lysol and bleach and stuff to fix us all, um, and that's sarcastic. But I'm just quoting the news and things. But it's just like how it's just like, are we really going to find something to stop this? I mean, we hope so, but it's just like, yeah. I'll get
Yeah.
off my horse. So that's it.
Well,
Not gonna
no, I think you're right. See, my mind, the more I progress, and the horrible side effects that I had with the meds, because I'm and full disclosure, transparency, and that's how I am in general. I'm not on anything right now, and I haven't been for a little over a year, just because of I was diagnosed over, I guess, almost 20 years ago, and so I've progressed, but not to say that I won't get on any other medication, but right now there's too many other things and my doctors have agreed it's not the time, for me. I mean, too many things. In fact, a couple of the drugs, well, I'm not even going to go there. They just it made the side effects were worse than living with MS in and of itself. I'll put it that way. But also we still don't know. Just like this virus, the COVID, we don't know what the root cause of MS is. So how can you have a drug to treat certain, the MS, if you don't know if this person's MS is virally caused or bacterial or fungal or environmental or what? There's all sorts of different factors. It's multifaceted. Same thing with the virus. We know it started with a bat that bit a pig or an animal of some sort and mutated. So there's still question marks with that too, right? It's just the whole thing is
And,
bizarre.
and to that point, Mary, the different strains that we have could be the reason why different organs are being affected in different people. It could be
Yeah.
totally different strains, and that may be why they're having a hard time pinning things down.
So
Yeah.
to put it
Even
in,
testing, even to get a test that is accurate, because we've had multiple universities here that are making the tests. So we have antibody tests available, and we have just general testing available. And I think the FDA has cleared 9 different tests so far, but none of the antibody tests are cleared by FDA. So who really knows exactly if any of these tests are accurate? Some may be accurate for different strains
Yeah.
and not for others.
Is the FDA approving all of them? I was listening to the New York Times podcast this morning, and it didn't sound like there was a lot of accuracy. I know my friend is a nurse, and she's pretty sure that she had COVID, but she tested negative, and I know there were a lot of false negatives that were coming back too.
Hmm.
just to put vaccines in perspective just a little bit, and mutations and how things change, when they do the flu vaccine, they have to guess months in advance what is going to hit and what strain is going to hit. So that's
Yep.
why some years when we have a vaccine, we're like, didn't do so well, but it probably still made it less,
Yeah.
That's right.
it made it a little bit not as strong as if you might have gotten the flu, but it might have not as been an intense if you hadn't had the shot. And then other years, like, yeah, we kind of got a better idea, but it's just a guess, because the way that they manufacture vaccines and everything, you have to takes a period of time before those are up and to figure out, okay, what's the strain when it hits the US, what's it gonna be? So there's a lot of guesswork in there. Now, other things that I'm guessing here, this is not an educated guess, but I'm assuming some things that we have vaccination for, like chickenpox, measles, mumps, rubella, those haven't changed, so we get to keep them like they are. But those are, I'm not quite sure what those are. If those are bacteria or those are, I'm not quite sure. Like obviously varicella is virus. It just, yeah, I can't keep it all straight, but it's fascinating. And then it's fascinating when people who aren't don't know about the things, and it's Joe Q public trying to learn about these things. It's just fascinating because like, what's this and what's that? And it's just like, this is how it works. And a lot of
Yeah.
the things, that's the time constraint, is testing. You got to do the first round of testing. Is it safe? Animal testing. And then you got to do the next round of testing is like, all right, we do it to healthy humans. Is it okay to give it to humans healthy? And then the third round of testing is, okay, let's give it to the people that have the disease. Does it actually do anything? Is it efficacious? Is it toxic? And then the fourth round is your fourth level, is like when it's already out there, what's coming back of like there's a problem with the drug or the vaccine or
Long-term
something.
safety.
Yeah, it's a safety. And I'm going to guess that the U.S., unless they put some things fast forward, the U.S. will probably be one of the last countries to approve it. I'm guessing. This is just totally uneducated guess because we tend to be really slow in our process. Some drugs we've been able to get through the U.S. faster because it was approved in Europe and things like that. But we had the flipper babies from thalidomide. And so they're like, no, no. And the FDA, you have to understand too, just doing all this testing, they don't have a lot of funds. You have to send in these NDA, these new drug applications that are, I don't know, probably hundreds, maybe thousands of pages, and to get drug approval. And it's this huge, huge thing. And then if you have a drug that's, like what I call like a Me Too drug. It's not like spick and span new, but it kind of has sort of other things on the market. You can do like an abbreviated new drug process. So it just gets bogged down a lot of paperwork like that. And second of all, you have to worry about like, where are you getting your test subjects from? You have to have like, okay, we need so many healthy volunteers to test this. Okay, now we need so many people who have the disease or illness we're treating tested, and it's just like, it's just a multi-process and thing. And there's a lot of information we don't know, but there are some information that you can gather. And it's just very interesting, the whole thing. And it'll be interesting in how it plays out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, fortunately, I do not feel very confident in the US right now, unless we're doing things in certain ways or have private, because we're still butting heads right now between different factions and stuff. We haven't really united yet. So we'll see.
I have a quick go-to meeting question. Is there a way that I can see all the members' faces at
Oh, you
once?
can't. Yeah, you can't. You're not able to do that right now.
No,
Are you,
Oh,
Are you
I don't know
minimized
what
or
the
maximized? Is your screen maximized or minimized?
I'm on my phone.
Oh, that might be a Rick
I have
question.
not.
That might
Rick, is it something you might be able to shed some light on? I've not used my phone with GoToMeeting.
oh
I wonder if do you have settings, Michelle? There's like the
Um,
little gear.
I don't have a gear. I was looking for that earlier.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
wait, nope, that's a chat button.
I am not sure.
Oh, no.
I don't think I even have it downloaded on my phone to walk through. I can try if you'd like.
Does it
Okay.
change like based on who's talking?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I know like when I sometimes with at work, especially like with Teams or whatever, I mean, there's like 60 people on the call, but I can't see them. It's not until they talk do they pop up. I don't know. I'll look into that.
That's what it's doing. Let me see. Yeah. I mean, all I'm getting is, yeah, I'm gonna have to join on my computer next time. And
Yeah, there's
Hopefully I can get working.
there's some I like a good example. Zoom, I think, is the same thing where you can't on your, if you use your phone, you're going to see the person who's talking. But well, no, I think you see little squares maybe up at the top or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
Yeah. Well, you need your computer.
Yep.
So
Oh well.
I guess asking, because I had asked it before, now that we're how many weeks later and months into this, but it's like, remember when all we had to worry about was multiple sclerosis? I mean, and I think this, I mean, that's what's so cool. I mean, for Carly, I mean, for everybody, but I'm singling out Carly and Gail and Michelle. I mean, just that you all within the last, since this outbreak and everything, pandemic hit, you all went, I mean, Gail, you went and got an infusion. I mean, that's it, like for your first drug. I mean, how nervous were you in doing that?
Well, actually, my doctor postponed me for 3 weeks. I was supposed to have it on April 3rd, and she said, let's hold off for about 3 weeks. And honestly, I was glad that she made the decision because, I was anxious to start, but at the same time, it was a tenuous time to begin an infusion too. So,
Yeah.
but then after 3 weeks, the week of the infusion, I contacted her again and I said, "Are we good to go?" And at that time, I had increasing symptoms, some increasing numbness, and I thought, it seems like the MS is a little bit on the move. So I'm anxious to get started and see if the Okramiss can arrest this. But at the same time, I knew that it would be a little riskier as far as COVID is. So anyway, she encouraged me to go for it. So with her encouragement, I went forward, and I'm grateful that it went as well as it did.
That's
Absolutely.
good. And when do you have another infusion, Gail?
Well, I have my second half in 2 weeks.
Okay.
On early May, and then of course the 6 month later, then I'll have the full infusion. So
How are you feeling since your first half dose?
really, I didn't have any reactions. The only reaction I can say I had was I felt cold whenever she put the refrigerated Okramiss in me. I wouldn't even call that a side effect. I was just, I really didn't have any problems with side effects, so I'm thankful. Yeah, because I had postponed the Okramiss not just for the pandemic, but also prior to that, I'd postponed it for shingles, for the
Yeah.
vaccine, and then the shingles booster.
Ugh.
So that postponed things a few months. So,
That's
but so
really
far,
good. I actually ended up getting shingles with my first half dose. So kudos to you for getting it. I did not.
How did you go? Gosh, I can't talk. How was the process with shingles for you? That is one thing I have not had, and I know so many people who've had it, and I know a lot of people with MS who've had not just one, but 2, 3, and 4 rounds of shingles, and So how was your experience with that, Gail?
Compared to other people talking about shingles for them, I don't think I had as severe a case as what other people described. But for me, the biggest thing is that my MS exacerbated. So, like for me, I had a right leg that was numb, and during the shingles, my left leg became numb, and then I numb from my waist down. So the shingles wasn't so bad shingles wise, but as far as MS wise, it just made my symptoms kind of go crazy for a while. That's why the doctor wanted to make sure that I had completed all of the shingles vaccine and booster before we even thought about having any Okramiss.
Yeah. Michelle, I'm sorry.
Well,
Michelle's turned into a cat now.
That's monkey. That's monkey.
Now, Kim, are you taking Okramiss as well?
Yes, my next infusion is scheduled for August 14th.
Okay.
Right now,
So-
I'm in the process of paying for it, where I just got a bill a couple weeks ago from the hospital, and I'm still working with the Okramiss copay program to because the generic bill, the EOB that I get, doesn't say anything about Okramiss, so then they want a specific bill that says Okramiss in it. So then you have to call up the number, which is call center, going, yo, send me a bill that has versus just random numbers that mean nothing, not even codes. We're not even talking about codes that say, hey, this is Okramiss, just general basic, you got a medical service. So I finally got that. It took them a week to get it to me. We had to snail mail it to you. I'm like, seriously? You can't send it to some electronic portal? No. So I'm still waiting. So did they tell you how much Okramiss costs, Gail? Did they tell you?
It's a lot. But I was on the Okramiss.
Would you like to know, or do you want to find out later? I guess that's the question.
No, do tell.
Okay, so when I got on Okramiss, guys, was it last year? Last year I started, yeah, a year ago, February last year. So when you get a half dose, the sticker price, $63,000. When you get the full dose, you're getting 2 vials and not one, $124,000. So it's $250,000 for the treatment for over a year, sticker price.
Wow.
I just want to let you know that, because when you're getting there, what is this? Just give you a little heads up, because I was not, especially when I got the maintenance dose, and it was I'm like, what? How to go from 63 to 124? And then I realized you get 2 vials, not 1 vial, and that's where it came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope you can be a part of I hope you can get it all worked out with the copay program, because that.
Yeah, it'll be worked out. They did it last year, but I just have to, the beast of, the healthcare is the last one to get organized with stuff. And I'm like, well, can you fax it to me? And they're like, well, we can fax. Is it like a personal fax? I'm like, yeah. And they never faxed it to me. It's gonna take 2 days to fax. I'm like, what? Why does it take 2 days to fax? This is all electronic. And it just boggles my brain. So I think my bill is due on the 7th. So we'll see if the Okramiss copay program hits by then, or I call the hospital billing thing. Look, I'm on a copay program. I can give you $10 right now, but until I know how much they're going to cover, I'm not paying my bill. My bill right now, I think, is over $3,600. I have a $4,000 between my deductible and then my out-of-pocket maximum for my personal is $4,000. So whatever I had paid ahead of time before the infusion, so that's why it's 36 versus $4,000. So, but I say my husband loses his job and then I don't have my same insurance, I'd have to pay that again, whatever new insurance I had, and I don't know if I could afford paying $8,000 out of pocket, not including the premiums and everything like that. So, but now I'm at, if everything's keywords in network and covered, everything's free for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
But keywords in network covered.
I'm so glad somebody else does this as much as I do, because it's so appropriate for what we have to say. I mean, it really. So I'm so glad to see that, Kim.
Well, I laughed at him because when I was on Gilenya, there was a problem with my insurance. I'm like, so I call them up and they're like, oh, it needs a prior authorization. I'm like, no, prior authorization's good. And well, just get a few pills at your local pharmacy. And I'm like, whoa, local pharmacy doesn't carry it. Second of all, no pharmacist in their right mind is going to break a bottle and let the rest of them sit on the shelf. Third of all, I can't afford paying $300 a pill to get me through. That's not going to work for me. And when I found out, it took literally 9 phone calls over the course of 3 days. I finally got a hold of someone that's like, look, the drug manufacturer increased the price by $1,000. Our cutoff was $7,000. It now costs $8,000. So when you give you approval, that's the holdup.
Wow.
But yeah, and I'm just like, look, my stash is getting low, and Gilenya, you're not supposed to go so many days without it because, the whole, pulse dropping and things like that. You know, the first dose you go into somewhere and they wash you for 6 hours and take your blood pressure, EKG, and all that stuff. So I got it figured out. And then my doctor was like, "Oh yeah, if there's any problem, we have like extras here in the office." I'm like, "Well, good to know." But it's just like
Yeah.
the additional of having MS and then the stress of dealing with the insurance and coverage and stuff
Yeah.
drives me batty. And I'm used to working in that field. So I have like, you know, I'm not like, "Oh, okay, prior authorization, click." I'm like, "Not gonna work for me, babe." No, that's not the case. You know, try again. You can't get me off the phone. So
And Michelle, Kim said something about Jelenia. What medicine are you taking again?
I'm on Tysabri. It was my first drug and the only drug I've ever taken. They started me on Tysabri as soon as I was diagnosed.
And is that an infusion, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes.
Do they do it once a month? And
Correct. Once a month.
how long does that infusion take?
Oh, about an hour.
Okay.
Nice.
oh, you're quick compared to Okramiss.
Yeah.
You're in
Well,
and out.
it's technically, so like the first, I think, 2 years, maybe 3. Yeah. For the first 3 years, it was a 2-hour infusion. So like the actual Tysabri portion of it took an hour, and then they did a saline wash for an hour
Oh
when,
yeah.
you know, and that was the amount of time that they watched you to make sure you didn't have any kind of reactions. Now, I guess because I've been on it so long, I get the Tysabri over an hour, and then I get a saline wash just to flush out the IV, and that's it. They send me on my way.
Do you have
So
to do that in the hospital, or can you do that like in a doctor's office, or where do you have that
yes,
medicine?
right. All of the infusions from my clinic are done in-house. They do Okramiss and Limtrada and everything in the same room. We also have a research facility. My clinic takes part in global research.
Nice.
And yes, and I love it because I've already participated in two drug studies, but one, no, just 2 drug studies. And well, that's not true because Mary and I were just talking about the other one. I just started a new one. It's not a drug study or anything like that. It's MS Care. So what the whole deal is that there's 4 clinics across different parts of the country, and I think one of them is in Michigan, that are taking part in this study. And what they want to do is discover how care across diagnosis, from the point where you're pre-diagnosed to diagnosed to ongoing care, how is that done in each clinic so that they can discover, you know how like in the groups so many people talk about, oh, I was treated so poorly trying to get diagnosed, it took me 5 years, they told me, oh, it's all in your mind, you know, you're making it up and all that stuff. I didn't have that experience. For me, I already knew that I had MS before I started the process. It was just, you know, to me, a foregone conclusion. And because I figured it out and I did the research and I looked and read everything, you know, off reputable sites. And when I went to get diagnosed, I sought out my first neurologist. I didn't know what I was looking for at that point, and that's what taught me what to look for. I found out that all neurologists are just straight medical doctors. They don't have specialties. They just, you know, neurology isn't really a specialty. It's just medical doctor.
Right.
And then the one I was going to, the one that I initially went to, she took one look at me. I told her I was having bilateral pain in my hip area. I am what I call left affected, so my left side is the dead side, but my right side had been carrying all the weight of everything else. So of trying to make me move. So my right side, my right hip was so inflamed from trying to literally drag my left side along.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this study is trying to discover what type of, how good is the care and what do we need to do to fix that. So it's really awesome that I get to participate in this. My doctor knows that I am really centered on bringing education to the forefront of the MS PALS group. I want people to understand their symptoms, know what to do with them. How do you take your medication properly to get the best benefit out of that medication? I'm really big on teaching people what is MS and how do you best deal with it, because you don't get that information when you go in pre-diagnosed to diagnose and then going forward. So that's what I want to do, and Mary and I are working on a kind of a interesting project similar to like a video chat group.
Okay.
So that'll be coming in PAL. So look forward to seeing some information. We're just getting started with it, so it's not quite available to.
Well, I think the video, yeah, what Michelle, the video stuff, especially now that, and in a way, and it's something that I've always wanted to really get involved with, but there's only so much time, or you can't figure out exactly what you want to do or where you want to do it. But especially with the times that we're in now with the COVID, I mean, the whole world is using Zoom, or GoToMeeting or Skype or whatever, and so therefore this is becoming a much more of a normal thing now, which is really great. Instead of people typing or texting, I think this is such a more powerful tool. You see the faces and you hear the voices, you see the facial expressions. But it's hard sometimes to get people, you're vulnerable because here you are, and here's your whole thing. But once you do it, it's so empowering, and it gets easier, from that point, moving forward. So yeah.
Well, that made me Dan and I were talking about groups yesterday. We run a support group close, like about 15 minutes from our house. And we haven't had an in-person support group meeting. And I just wondered with you all, have you ever gone to an in-person support group? And if not, or if so, were you leery or nervous to join an online group like Ann can, or was this like the perfect place? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what's your experience with groups?
I'll go on that if you don't mind. When I was first diagnosed, it took me, I don't know, probably there was some denial, there was some grieving, there was all sorts of different emotions and stuff going on, and I wanted nothing to do with anything about MS. No books, no conferences, no nothing, no support groups. Then years went on, and I found one. I went to one, and it was really depressing. It was really depressing. Not the people, and it wasn't yes, there were a lot of people that had a lot of mobility devices and wheelchairs. That did not affect me or in any sort of way. I knew, because I knew what I was walking into. That is fine. But it was just the conversation. It was just really down. And I went back one more time, and it stayed that way. But there are some in-person groups that I've heard of from other people. It depends on the group, I suppose, and depends on the group leader, I suppose, also. so I never went back to an in-person group meeting, just because it didn't fit for me at the time. And they're still in my area, unless I'm in the dark. I haven't found another one. But so therefore the online stuff, that once I started using social media, that was such an easy transition. And I still do it to this day. And I don't, I used to, when I first did, when I found, when Facebook started having all these groups, and this was like maybe right before MS Pals came along. I remember joining like every MS group that there was. And nowadays I probably am only a member of just a couple, because it just became, it's overwhelming with some groups are very poorly run, misinformation, or it's just bad. And it made me, it's just bad.
Bad.
Just poopy, just poopy. And so I limit that. And so I've found my happy place bouncing from Twitter to a little bit of Instagram and Facebook, but also just, finding a little, balance with the bounce. I guess that's a weird way of saying, but I have found my routine. And as Michelle knows, I've got a teeny little addiction to TikTok. I don't know if you guys have been, but it's been a fun little,
Teeny?
it's been a fun little
Like,
humorous
teeny?
thing. But I've been good. I haven't been on it at all today. So anyway,
I can't show, the screen isn't big enough to really.
The addiction.
yeah, just a little bit. But I've been good about it. And in fact, just one more comment on that, and then I'll drop it. But in fact, TikTok has a little tool on that app that it makes you set an alarm for a certain amount of time, to where if you've been on it too long, it makes you take a time out. And it basically cuts you out, and then you have to re-enter like a certain passcode.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
Which is good, because I got sucked into that app on one. You sent me a link to one a while back. I think the first time I ever got sent one of the little links from you. But I got sucked into the app, and it didn't ask me to set a timer, and I know I was in the way too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, TikTok is one of those. Yeah, TikTok is definitely a good name for that app, because TikTok, how long are you going to be in here?
It's such a nice little diversion, and that's why I use the word, balance and bouncing, because I focus on my advocacy groups and my MS groups, and then also just my own special interests of my own. And then I need a little humor break, and I go over to TikTok if I need to, and then I'm done. That's my whole little juggling act there.
But your advocacy group doesn't have a timer on it, Mary.
No.
Like you've got parental controls.
That is, you mean, yeah. In fact, that is something I'm writing about, is the burnout factor of advocacy, and the importance of having a balance. And it's, I go through, I think we all do this. We have our purpose and our passion, but then we have a point where it's where we're not always taking care of ourselves. We're taking care of others, and it can be, it's been very eye-opening. And but the whole burnout factor I don't worry about it as much as I used to. It used to really bother me, to where I would actually say, that's it, I'm done, I have had enough. Now I've learned, okay, this just means it's time to kind of regroup, take stock, take a breath, little time out, and then come back. And sometimes it just means, okay, this is an area that is really taking too much out of me, and it's not going in a positive way. And so you delete those things that are not positive and morph into a different direction. And I think it's important, whether it be advocacy or otherwise, I think it's important for everybody to do that a few times, with the different projects that you're doing, or your fitness or your diet, whatever you've got going on in your life. Take stock of what's going on and what is fulfilling and what is not, and what can you do about it to bring fulfillment, and purpose. With that, I think I need to let you guys go. So excuse me for getting on my soapbox on that. And
Nice to meet
Yeah.
you, Mary.
Good to see you again, Mary.
Good to
Bye,
see you,
Mary.
Mary.
bye.
Take
Good to
care.
see you guys. Have a great chat. I'll watch the rest of it when it's live. Okay, or when it's on when it's up there.
All right.
Perfect.
Take
Bye,
care,
bye,
Mary.
Mary.
Bye.
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 So
To
then,
answer your guys' question about the support groups and stuff, I
yeah.
don't think I've actually technically been to an MS support group in person. Now, have I been to lots of MS activities where we did do that in it? Absolutely. I don't have a personal problem going to any support groups as long as I don't have to sing in front of an audience. Good to go. If I can just sit there, not a problem. So my personality, I don't have a problem with it. And I think this is my first online support group. So, but
Okay.
I don't have I don't shy away I see what works for me or not. But a lot of times I do seek out MSers. I do have my peeps that I'm like, look, I just need an MSer to talk to because you will get it. I don't have to try to explain my symptoms and the fatigue. You just get it right off the bat, and it's just so nice. And there's nothing more fun when you meet an MSer and they're new to the ball game and they're starting to talk and they're like, or you start talking and they're like, you experienced that? And I'm like, oh yeah. And they're just their eyes just get real big, oh my gosh, someone understands? Yeah.
I'm
Look
not
at the
making
babe.
all these crazy symptoms up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so
So,
fun because I feel bad because some people have isolated themselves from so long from other MSers. And then when they finally do open up a little bit, they're just oh, I didn't know. And it's just I think that they're grateful. But there's so many people that I've met that I was probably their first MS or they stumbled upon. And because I found out they had MS, they're like, oh my God, what is she? She's asking me a million questions an hour. And,
Well, I
yeah.
think it is. It's just when you talk to other people with MS, it's just you just realize you're not facing it alone and you're not dealing with it alone, and there's other people that totally get it, and
Yeah.
not even to the same level. It's just obviously, Jennifer's got a different kind of disease than I do, and it's just I don't understand some of the stuff she's dealing with, but at the same time we can relate to it. It's just we talk about spasticity. It's well, I don't have that necessarily, but I can relate,
and you
Kind of.
can relate to the unpredictability of the disease where it,
Yeah.
it fluctuates. It's I think it's something that people don't understand. How can it fluctuate so greatly? That's just how it rolls. Can you do this tomorrow? It depends. I don't know what tomorrow's going to be like for me. And they're just what? And I'm like, I'm not a flaky person, but that's just what I've had. I can't guarantee anything anymore.
But we
You're
were
not flaky,
talking.
but your disease is flaky.
Yeah.
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 We were talking with a woman this weekend, and it's funny you bring that up, Kim, about making plans. And her friend said, can you do this? And she said, we'll see. Just you just don't want to make any solid plans because you don't know how you will feel on that particular day. You can say you want to do it, but
Even later today, if you make plans in the morning, if by the evening you might feel totally different.
yeah.
So true, Carly. So true. And last night, my husband just made a comment God, you're acting drunk. And I haven't drank alcohol, God, in years. And he wasn't being insulting, but it was just all my MS symptoms. I was slurring my words. I was walking funny. I was just kind of what? And so, but it was noticeable enough that he made a comment you're acting kind of drunk right now. I'm I know. It's been kind of a rough day for me, babe.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. I went to a couple support groups. My clinic is actually an hour north of me, so they have a great support group, and I would love to go to it more often. It's just, initially when I was diagnosed, 10 days after, I was laid off from my job. So I lost my insurance. I was like, don't drive. Just don't. I mean, I had a Ford Fiesta which got like 38 miles to the gallon, but I still didn't want to drive my car. I didn't want to use that gas because, I go into frugal mode and that just shuts down all my spending.
Yeah.
So, because I've been poor a lot, I've been an administrative assistant my whole life, and that's the first job that gets let go. And so I've been laid off every 2 years from, my entire career. And that was more than 25 years that I did that job. So, being, whatever level of it I was, it was still just 2 years and then laid off. And it just killed me every time. And so of course, my disability account is not as high as it should have been because of the layoffs. But, as far as support groups go, I just, in this area, there is very, very, and I just recently went to, there was one for a little while that was basically family oriented. Teach your family about MS so that they understand and blah, blah, blah. I live alone and I have no family. So for me, these groups where all your caregivers and all your family come, that's just, I can't relate to it. And it makes me feel even more lonely because I go alone.
Yeah.
And I sit alone and I have no one around me. So that just doesn't work for me. And I know that there's so many other people out there like me, and I would love to start one up like that, except I know I just don't have the energy. It would need to be something that I co-hosted with, maybe
Yeah.
X number of single people like myself, just because we have to do everything. We have to clean, we have to grocery shop, we have to do our medical stuff. We're responsible for everything. So our energy levels are just not there. And then being alone is exhausting.
Yeah. And
I
I
mean, people
imagine,
might think it's the other way around, but when you're alone all the time, you have nothing to do. And your house, if you don't clean it, who cares? Well, you know what? If I showed you what was going on in this room right now, you might have gotten a little glimpse of it when I walked into the kitchen, but I think I was holding the phone up high enough to where you could see only me. But
yeah.
I mean, seriously, I'll just give you all a quick shot. I'm going to show you the dining room of my apartment. Get ready. This is so bad. Okay. To all MSers out there everywhere, please don't worry. We got your back. If your house looks like this, it's okay. Can y'all see what's going on in there?
Oh, that's not bad at all. I don't know what you're talking. You can walk around. There's place.
Walk around, it's like step over.
Yeah, but you're talking to a gal that watches hoarding episodes on TV. This is not.
That's what I was preparing myself for.
And this is actually clean. I've worked on it for the last month. So it's much cleaner than it used to be. But my mom passed away in May of 2018. And so I have been incorporating a lot of the things that I brought back from her house to into mine. One of my big things that I got was this awesome chair right here.
Okay.
Looks
Can you see it?
Yeah, nice.
It's one of those massaging chairs.
Very nice.
Oops. As I break it. Got the massagers and stuff, and it does your whole back, and really, yeah, it's pretty awesome. So whenever my body decides to disagree with me, I just pop myself into that bad boy and get into the 0G position and and just
That's
lay
fine.
there and watch TV. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, so the first 2 weeks after I came home finally from being at her house, pretty much the entire summer, I had to drive to Southeast Missouri where she lived and then drive back here to Orlando, Florida. It's an 18-hour drive. And I had to do that every month because I had to come back to get my medication, to get Tysabri.
Wow.
Nice. But yeah, the like I was trying to answer and never got to it, the support groups here are just lacking completely. And I have talked to the Multiple Sclerosis Society about that, and there are a few other singles in my position that are looking for a social group, not a teach me about MS, because I already know everything there is to know.
Yeah.
As far as I've been trying to do more research on secondary progressive because that information is not out there, and I think it's lacking from general population, I guess.
Yeah.
So I want to get that more out there. But as far as relapsing remitting goes, I mean, it's everywhere, and you can have too much information. You can be inundated with it, and I think that's where I am. I'd rather have a social group than any kind of MS group.
Have you thought about doing an MS singles group? Because that's what like the vibe is I'm getting. Like you want a group like MS singles. I need people that are like solo dealing with this. And then I don't know if you think about
Yep.
maybe doing it like online, so you're not geographically,
Right.
limited. That you can like meet people from Japan and Australia and across the country. And I just kind of
That is part of what Mary and I are discussing.
cool.
She's a single as well, but she's not alone. She has her mom, and her family is, within driving distance and all of that. My family, my sister lives in Virginia, and then my mom's side of the family and most of my dad's is in Southeast Missouri. I have one or two cousins in Florida that I really, could take or leave, you know. Um, but that's it. And so yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I am looking at taking just to, I don't want to put it out there into the public because I know this is going out on YouTube. So, but yes, I am looking at doing something that is available just to singles as well. So, so that we can, and then also get people involved in creating little breakout groups, maybe, so that we can be face to face. Hopefully this whole COVID 6 feet away,
Yeah.
thing isn't going to last that long. But so when we do or can come back together, we can have in-person contact, and at one point when I was initially diagnosed, I got the great idea to start game groups. So like, people have like game night when their families.
Yep.
Well, I never did because my family was volatile. But the healthy families have game nights.
Yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be a great idea to have game night and take the games to the people who are unable to get out?
Yes.
So people who are bedridden or, can't drive or whatever. So I was trying to collect games and things like that and put them in a big tub because I'm still able to get around. And it doesn't have to necessarily be MS related. It could be, any
Yeah.
any illness that forces you to stay at home and and invariably, is that the right word, isolates you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that was a big thing with Rick. Why this MS group works so well is because Rick knew that the mobility and that it could be difficult to find a group. And so I thought that was interesting. And then when you showed us your apartment, I think one of the best things about the MS community is it's like no judgment. We all understand. We're all coming from like that place where we're all just dealing with the best we can with this stupid disease. So I think thank you for showing us, just showing us just like the reality of your life, and that's really comfortable. And this is
I have like 8 years worth of paperwork I'm trying to actually scan into my computer because I started it long before my mom passed away. But even after, when I was dealing with her paperwork and the fact that she didn't have any kind of organization, what it taught me was you need to have all of this S asterisk asterisk T
yeah,
done, because it took me 2 weeks just to sort through and find the important pieces of the paperwork that we needed in order to complete anything. And if your parents are getting up in age, trust me, I never I'm not a stressed out person. I don't get anxiety. I'm pretty even keeled. It just there was just so much to deal with. I think the action and having to deal with all of that was what set my MS to downgrade a lot. And I actually did lose endurance, even though I was up and doing things, because I was the one taking care of the physical house and the property inside, while my sister was dealing with all the financial aspects of the death, because she was estate and trustee. So, I did the physical stuff. Oddly enough, I'm the one doing the physical stuff.
I
Go
just
figure.
I'm sorry, Michelle. I just added in the group chat. I actually worked with a guy as part of a couple different things, but we were trying to get things together as far as like organizing family things. MyLifeDirectory.com. I'm not sure if he's charging for it or if he has the free PDF, but it's a really good way to organize anything for any level. So if you want to maybe check it out,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Good suggestion. I appreciate that.
it's like,
Wonderful.
collecting passwords and, all of the things that you don't think of until it's too late.
well,
Well, luckily enough, I used to manage my mom's computer stuff back when I was working. And so I taught her a trick that I use I use a physical address book, and for any website or whatever that I use, I write down the name of the website under the letter, and then the username and the password and whatever security questions it requires.
Right.
Just
that's a good
in
tip, Michelle.
brief form. And that way, and she did that, but she wrote them wherever in the address book, so it wasn't easy. She didn't use the whole letter. I found websites in like 3 or 4 different places. My mom was an alcoholic, and so she would just write stuff down in just random places, and it was there was a lot to deal with her.
So, I know we're getting towards the end, and there are a couple of things I wanted to just mention quickly. The first on this topic is a really good book that came out last year called A Beginner's Guide to the End. I put it in the chat window, and it's authored by B.J. Miller, who's an amazing doctor. He's a palliative care doc, and he's got over 10 million views to his YouTube, to his TED Talk. And if you haven't seen his TED Talk, you definitely need to find it. He's on our advisory board, so you can find it linked under his profile on our advisory board. But I know BJ pretty well. He's an absolutely remarkable man. Secondly, yes, Jen is exactly right. When we conceived of virtual support groups, we did it because we recognized that there were a lot of people that were either geographically, physically, or socially compromised, and that they couldn't get to a physical meeting. Maybe it was because they had a disability, a physical disability. Maybe it was because they lived too far away, like Michelle was talking about. And we have people who are socially disabled. For example, they have agoraphobia and they won't step out their house, but they will join a meeting. And so we really felt that this could be a way for other people to participate in a peer support group for whatever the condition was. And clearly the mobility conditions like MS and Parkinson's lent themselves very, very well to the model. And what I would say is any way we can help you, Michelle, we'd be happy to do it, to work with you. I'd also ask all of you, other than my moderators who know, that please keep putting the word out there and let other people that you know that have MS understand that we got this wonderful group, that's so warm and so caring, and it can make a huge difference to people's lives. I wanted to ask you all a question. With certain diseases, particularly diseases that are inherited, and I know that it's very controversial as to whether MS is inherited or it isn't inherited. It's necessary for parents to talk to their kids about their disease. And we are going to put on a session, a webinar for prostate cancer about parents talking to their sons and their daughters, because the daughters can be affected too. There's a greater incidence of breast cancer amongst daughters of men who have prostate cancer, and of course the BRCA gene is pertinent to prostate cancer and very pertinent to daughters. And I've unfortunately known some horror stories where a man has been BRCA positive and passed on the BRCA gene to his daughter or daughters, and it's not good. And we decided June 30th, we're going to do a webinar. We're going to call it The Talk. And I had this idea, and we may be able to find funding, that we should be doing this for more than just prostate cancer. We should certainly be doing it for breast cancer, for ovarian cancer, and maybe we should be doing it outside of cancer too. And so my question to you is it necessary, and my apologies to Michelle, who obviously this doesn't apply to as a single person, and I'm single too, Michelle, so I've never been married, so I relate very well to that, to what you said. But is there a talk that parents who have MS need to have with their children about their disease?
I actually have a friend here in town who, when I met her, and she still is doing this to a degree, but she is in denial of, at first, until she got to know me well, she was in denial of her MS in total. And then as she kind of grew into it a little bit, she now is in denial of different aspects of the disease, I guess is the best way to say that. But she has several kids. They understand, but I've forgotten where I was headed with that now. Thank you, MS.
Is it necessary, do you think, for a parent who has MS to have some sort of talk with their child or with their offspring? I don't mean a child. I don't mean with their offspring. Is there a talk that's important to have that people put off and don't have?
I don't have that
I
experience.
think
I don't
I
really.
don't have any kids,
No.
and
Neither do we.
nobody in my family or extended family has had MS, so I don't think it's genetically. But to answer that question vaguely, I would say absolutely it's important to talk to your kids about the disease, because anything, like for me, it's like, well, I probably, it wasn't a genetic thing, but maybe my genetic changed and maybe I could pass it on to you. I think it's really important to educate your kids. And because I think sometimes the worst thing is the fear of not knowing, and not having the information can be worse than actually having the information. And the thing that it reminds me of when you started bringing this up, Rick, was in sophomore year of high school, I did a report on Huntington's disease, which is an autosomal dominant trait. So if one of your parents has it, it's a 50% chance that you'll get it.
Right.
And the crazy thing about Huntington's is that you're probably not going to have any symptoms of it until you're middle age, where you've already had offspring. So the question was, do you test for it so you know, or do you not? And then if you test for it, who has access to that information? Can your employers find out? It's just these crazy things. So what I think is absolutely important to educate your kids about, because I think a lot of times when you hear anything, cancer stuff, kids' brain is just going to run wild with fear, not knowing. And it's just nice to just bring it, yes, there may be a chance they'll pass it on to you. Maybe there's not. Right now they're saying, whatever percentage. I think that helps bring it into perspective and make it less fearful.
And Gail, what's your perspective on this?
Well, we have one daughter and she's 21, almost 22. So I guess my perspective is a little, she I think has had to watch me become less able to do things. And I think that's where she's had to kind of make adjustments. So, now she's gotten to where she understands that she needs to slow down for me, or she needs to offer her arm to me, or things like that, where she just didn't understand the need for that before, or she now understands that I get tired more easily and I need to take a nap, or that she, like now with being on Okramiss, that she'll need to step in and run errands for me and things like that. So I think for her, it's been, oh, mom has some new needs that I didn't have before, and I can now help in a new way. So I think before she just saw me as her old mom. And so now she's trying to see me as mom with new needs. So, my walking is more wonky. And so, just kind of slow down and make sure I'm doing okay. I mean, just learning a new normal for me. And yeah, so it's been neat to see her grow in that. Before I felt like, is she embarrassed because of the way that I walk now, or because of the way that it's harder for me to do things? Is that, how's she processing that? And I basically had that kind of a talk with her, and I said, honey, I know that you're having to look at me in a little different way now, and if you ever want to talk about that more, I'm happy to sit down with you. I'm sure that's hard for you to see that things are changing for me. So I think if on the physical side, if she ever started having numbness, she would probably more quickly clue into the fact that, oh, I probably need to go see a neurologist about this. And that hasn't happened for her, but so yeah, I think it is good to have that.
That's very helpful. The idea that we have, like I said, and we may have a funder for this, is to do a series of different talks for different conditions. And what we're going to do for prostate cancer is bring a father and son, actually a father and 3 pairs of father and sons, one with mild disease, one with intermediate disease, and one with advanced disease, and a father and a daughter. And we're going to bring them all in. We've also got a doctor involved, and then we've got a moderator who's a fantastic prostate cancer oncologist, medical oncologist. She's incredible, and she's going to moderate. And what I'm thinking is that, are there legs to do this for, say, a disease like MS? And what you're saying is there probably are legs, because you do have to educate your family around your MS. And
it does start with educating yourself, though, because
right.
like I was wanting to say, or trying to say, my friend doesn't want to educate herself. She's too fearful of the disease
Right.
itself.
Right.
And so I don't think her family and her kids really have accurate information to go off of as things progress for her
Right.
going forward, and then also looking towards themselves, because as we've seen, I've seen many people in MS PALS who have multiple family members with MS. So it's not just a genetic disease that may not be hereditary, but there could be a very near hereditary component to the disease. We just don't know that yet because we don't know enough about how it manifests.
All right, well, that's great. I mean, if we do move forward, then you are the guys that I'm going to be working with very closely to figure out what we put together. And so watch this space. It won't be for a while yet, but watch this space. And if you have any thoughts on this, you let me know. But I could see us doing a webinar that would be something along the lines of the talk, or, talking MS to your family or something like that.
Honestly, Rick, I absolutely love your idea. I have no one with prostate cancer, but I would love to watch that webinar because I think it's so important to see people in different stages of diseases and how needs change and how not all the needs are physical. They're not as obvious. And I think what you're doing is fantastic and phenomenal. And I think it's awesome. You get green light from me, Rick. It's awesome. And I just think it's so important because, we'll talk about, but you have to talk about the caregivers and then the kids. And then when we're talking about kids, like I remember I went to my cousin's wedding and my niece is like maybe 6 or 7 at the time. And at one point before the wedding, I'm like, y'all, I got to go lay down. If I do this wedding thing, I got to go rest. And she, being like 6 or 7 years old, is like, when Auntie Kimmy just hits a wall, she just hits a wall. And she like totally got it in her brain. You're saying, oh, she got it. And I was just blown away by that. And I think that's one thing that we don't give kids credit for. Like, they can be incredibly perceptive. And we're just like, oh, no, they don't. It's just like, no, they are. I think it's important to be like honest with them.
Anna, and we will finish after this, but just on a slightly different tack, if you ever have any ideas about a particular MS webinar that you want to do, we'll always present it for you. So I'm not talking about a support group, but if you've got an idea or something you want to put out, let us know, and then we can we'll put together I will depend on you guys to help put the word out, because we don't have that access into the MS communities like you do. But I'm thinking of one thing, the talk, but there could be something else that's really important. Beginners.
I have one thing that's been on my brain,
for example.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say a beginner's caregiver guide. I mean, all of a sudden, Gail's husband finds he's a caregiver. He doesn't know where to start. And maybe we could do a webinar on that for MS that might be appealing. But whatever it happens to be, if you have the idea, talk to us and we'll work with you to help produce it.
Okay.
And one for kids too. I mean, on that component. Something that's geared toward their age level, so that they can actually understand it. I found really good explanatory videos of what is MS, the medical side to it, but it was so scaled back and easy to understand. And it was on the Kumar Medical Channel. And is that how
Okay.
you say it, Kumar? But it was amazing, and I have actually found the YouTube videos for it, and I plan on that's part of my educational series for MS Pals. So y'all, I know that uh, a couple of y'all are MS Pals, but I don't know if everybody is. But if you are, yeah, jump in and tag me if you want to have me post an educational series. I started a super secret group that I never really put out, and it was called the MS Pals Library. And I still have that group. It's super secret, and I've been throwing stuff in there kind of as a resource
Well,
platform.
if you want, it's totally up to you. But if you want any of these things posted on our website and you send us the links, we'll either post it as a blog. You can write a blog piece and put it out because we have a blog, or we'll put it as a resource link on the MS page. But I don't want you to feel like we're trying to encroach on what you're doing. We're trying to add and give a wider base to it.
Absolutely, and I don't feel that way.
Okay.
Having y'all as a partner
Right.
to work with, I can always send, pals y'all's direction when I'm just too tired and pooped out to do anything, because that happens, for a while. I just, I'm gone.
Okay, I'll just put my, that's my email in there. So I'm afraid I don't do Facebook. So I do Twitter, and Ancan does Facebook. I've got some guys that run our Facebook page, but we don't do. So I'll make sure that we like MS Pals. I'll ask my man to like MS Pals, and you can do the same back to Ancan.
I definitely will, and we'll do that on our Twitter page. And I think we have an Instagram, but you know what, I haven't quite logged into Instagram. I'm going to start that as soon as Disney reopens, so I can put some happy Disney pictures up for y'all.
All right, guys, listen, this has been a great meeting, and I'm glad, if nothing else, that you all are surviving. I don't want to say thriving, but you're surviving, and that Carly has found the secret.
I love it.
In a shower.
Move and shower. I love it.
And I was laughing when you said that, Carly, because there are too many days I don't, and it does. It makes me not want to show my face outside my patio door. So I'm further isolating myself when I don't shower.
Okay, run in a shower then.
So, and so that our next group is that is May 12th, correct?
I think so. It sounds about right. Yeah.
So y'all mark your calendar because we totally need to check in.
Yeah, that's right. May 12th.
May 12th at 8:30.
At 8:30.
8:30. I want to see everybody back here.
Right.
Keep track of yeah. Gosh, that's simply locked down then, dude.
My birthday is May 19th, and I suspect we will still be on lockdown here in Michigan.
Well, Carly, you and I will have to get together for the May birthdays. Maybe we can throw a May birthday party on.
Virtual May birthday party.
That'll be
put our backgrounds on those days or something.
That confetti stuff that you burst out of the bottles and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm turning 50. How old will you be, if you don't mind asking?
I'll be 35 this year.
Awesome. I remember that year. That was a good year. Man.
That was my favorite year. Carly, you're in for good stuff.
Well, it's off to a great start.
Have you seen, Carly? I've been meaning to ask you because you were asking about humor the last time. Have you seen the video of the female comedian traveling 4 months into the future in January and talking to herself?
No, I don't think I
No.
did.
I
I
have.
am going to send you that.
You
It
need to
is
post that.
hilarious. She travels to herself like circa January this year, and it's. I
I've
think
seen
you'll get a
that.
good laugh off of it.
It
Yeah,
is funny.
it's a female comedian actress that's doing it.
Good, I love
Oh, I need that. I need that link too.
it.
All right, everybody.
All right.
We'll send you the link to get this posted as soon as we have it uploaded. Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Take
Rick.
care.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Be safe, everybody.